Well, diversity, D, E, I, and A. So we had another alphabet. So for people who don't know, and there's other alphabets, but D is diversity, E is equity, I is inclusion, and A is access, depending on what circles you are in. And it's all meant to really open up the discussion of where we should be. And that is, you know, everybody is welcome to the party, and let's all smoke the peace pipe, and kumbaya. Everyone's welcome to the party.
DEI can be a sensitive and complex topic, but Glenn offers a refreshing and thought-provoking perspective. Rather than echoing popular narratives, he highlights the overlooked flaws often glossed over by media outlets, politicians, and societal trends. His message is clear: diversity is valuable and necessary, but it should never come at the cost of moral compromise.
Diversity is a great thing, and whenever people hear that, they always just liken it to people such as myself, people that are of color or a minority. When diversity is like a box of crayon, and in a box of crayons, you have all types of colors, from the lightest being white to the darkest being black. And obviously, unfortunately, in our country, we think there's only two crayons in a box. But diversity was intended to say it's all and everything. And that's, oh, by the way, a good thing. Because I talk about this in the book. If you only had two colors, and I've seen this happen when I've gone to a place and all of the room was all white. And British said, you know what they said? We need to get some color in this room. Or if you go to something that's all black, it's too dark in this room. Let's lighten it up. And so we've politicized or weaponized this whole conversation of diversity, and using it to split and all this other stuff that we've done in our country, particularly in the United States, if not globally. But diversity is a wonderful thing because it was intended, and I believe here in this country, to make sure, which is why we use equity and inclusion and access in that conversation. It was intended that the way that an individual was born, they should not be discriminate. You see, I had no choice. Men, woman didn't have a choice of being a woman. Men didn't have a choice. That's the way you were born, and so you shouldn't be discriminated against based upon the way that you were born. The deconstruction piece came to place when men starts manipulating, and when men get involved, or science, and start saying, well, I know what you are, but maybe you feel a certain way. Okay, fine. Even if you want to feel a certain way, but because you feel that certain way does not mean that now you should be brought into the conversation of other people who say, well, I didn't feel this way at all. This is just how I am. This is how I came into the world. And so that there's a significant distinction between how a person feels. And I've been in a conversation, and I said, listen, that we were talking about gender neutral bathrooms. I said, I just don't understand that concept. And I say, isn't it interesting? They say, well, some men feel like they're women, and women feel like they're men. I say, well, statistically, I rarely ever seen a woman say, I feel like a man in a minute, but men always, we're going to raise for you. It's not interesting how that works. But in any event, I said, well, why the confusion? And then where we have the deconstruction piece has come about when now we're saying that because I feel a certain way, I should have the same rights as a person who was born a particular way. And that is an absolute assault against diversity. And we should, and I tell women this all the time, they should be absolutely, women have been discriminated against, made less as a human since the beginning of the time, second fiddle, all the other things that we know that we've done in this country, if not world. And the women, and unfortunately, the rights movement and all the other things have helped usher in some of this conversation. But women of all people should be outraged for someone to say, well, I feel like I'm a woman and now I get the same rights as you do. And that is just, it has completely destroyed the whole context and intent of diversity.